gets stuck in my throat, I have to sip on my water too.
Okay, we're going. Hello everyone, this is Reverend Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight we are going to study in the Urantia book, paper 38, Ministering Spirits of the Local Universe. And that starts on page 418.1, or paper 3801. We're all on the same page. Okay. And I'll say a little prayer and we'll get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together again tonight that we might study this wonderful revelation. Pray that you open our hearts and minds, that we might be open to learning new concepts and new things, that we might share it with others. And we thank you for our many blessings and all these beautiful days we've been having. We say this in the name of your Son, Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen. All right. Tim, do you want to start out reading tonight?
There are three distinct orders of personalities of the infinite spirit. The impetuous apostles understood this when he wrote respecting Jesus, who has gone to heaven and is on the right hand of God, angels and authorities and powers being made subject to him. Angels are the ministering spirits of time. Authorities, the messenger host of faith, powers, the higher personalities of the infinite spirit.
Okay, so they're talking about the three orders of the infinite spirit, basically here, right? And they are angels, authorities, and powers. Okay, angels being the angels that we know of, authorities being the messenger host. Okay, those are all super universe level or paradise level, and powers would be all higher types of beings created by the infinite spirit herself or himself.
I just had a question. When they say personalities of the infinite spirit, I always think of the infinite spirit as having a personality disorder. But these are just actually creations that the infinite spirit created.
Now, I don't understand the question you just asked. Say that again, Tim.
It says here, the personalities of the infinite spirit.
Right.
So what I'm asking is, these personalities are created by the infinite spirit, correct?
Yeah, these are beings created by the infinite spirit. Right.
Because when it says personalities of the infinite spirit, I always think that the infinite spirit has a personality disorder.
Oh, no. No, these are all individual beings all created directly by the infinite spirit or by the local universe mother spirit as the infinite spirit's representative. Okay. Y'all let me know if you see Rodney pop in there or anything. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to have a little trouble getting my knife straight today. I hit the wrong one. Okay. Millie, would you take this one?
As the Supernophim in the central universe and the Zirconophim in the super universe, so the Seraphim with the associate cherubim and seraphim constitute the angelic core of our local universe.
Okay, now I don't know if you remember, Millie, when we studied the angels last year or the year before. Supernophim are the paradise level angels, right? Seconophim, being the second level, is the master universe level, or the seven super universes level. And seraphim are the local universe level, and the seraphim and the cherubim and seraphim are the ones that are actually created by the local universe mother spirit. Now the Supernophim and the Seconophim are not created by the local universe mother spirit. They are created by the infinite spirit. Okay?
And I just had a question.
Sure.
Cherubim, and seraphim are all female?
Yeah, they're all considered, they all address them as female. And it's kind of a misnomer, because we're going to find out later in this paper, all beings that are created along the sun line, the sonship line of the Paradise Father and the Creator Son, and the infinite Son, and all the creator sons are considered sons of God. Even if it's a woman, she's considered a son of God. Okay? They consider everyone created by the infinite spirit to be daughters of God, or the female vernacular. So all beings created by the infinite spirit are considered of a female bend. Okay, and that includes the local universe mother spirit. Now, what's interesting, even though those spirits, even though they're considered she's, they have a positive and a negative. So there's two different beings. They always work in pairs. So the right hand is always considered the positive pair, and the left hand is always considered the negative pair. Okay.
And when you say positive, negative, it's kind of like a battery, right? Negative, positive, charge.
Well, they're just complements of each other. In other words, they're created so they always complement one another. You know, if we, until you get down to the local, local universe sons, the Adams and Eves, that's when the beings are created as sex creatures, everything below that. And we are considered sex creatures. So are the sons of the Adam and Eve's, the material sons of the local universe. They're considered sex creatures. All other creatures created in the local universe, the super universe, everyone else are considered non-sex creatures, though. And that we're going to find out later tonight. It mentions there's no marriage in the mansion worlds or in heaven, because when you get to the mansion worlds, we outgrow our need for sensuality and our need for sex. So we become more spiritual, and the more spiritual we become, the less we need the animalistic tendencies of sex and sensuality. Okay? So when you get to the mansion world, you eventually get rid of what they call the mark of the beast. And part of that mark of the beast is this longing for sensuality and having sex. So, and many people, before they lose this planet, lose that urge. You know, it's pretty common. So as you get higher and higher, you have less and less. That does not mean you do not want to share with one another, pair up with one another, become complements of one another. Then you do it on a higher level, more of a spiritual level than a sensual, sexual level. Okay? So that's why there's no marriage in heaven. There's no necessity for it. People choose to be together or not. All right? Okay. So that's, I hate to disappoint you if you think you're going to have sex all the way to to paradise. Not likely. All right. I guess I'm next. The seraphim are all fairly uniform in design, from universe to universe, throughout all 7 of the super universes. They show a minimum of variation. They are the most nearly standard of all spirit types of personal beings. Their various orders constitute the core of the skilled and common ministers of the local creation. So they're pretty much standard. They're not exactly alike, but they're pretty standard throughout each universe. And this is a slide of the different types of seraphim and some of their jobs. And we're going to go over these in the next paper pretty in depth on the next one. All right. Tim, you want to take the next one?
1. Portion of Seraphim. Seraphim are created by the universe mother spirit and have been projected in uniformation 41,472 at the time. Ever since the creation of the pattern angels, certain angelic archetypes in the earlier times of Nebadon, the Creator's Son and the universe representation of the infinite spirit collaborate in the creation of a large number of sons and other universe personalities. Following the completion of this united effort, the Son engages in the creation of the material Son, the first of the sex creatures, while the universe mother spirit concurrently engages in her initial solitary effort at spirit reproduction. begins the creation of the seraphic host of the
So-
local universe.
So up to this time, all the beings that have been created were the combination of the Creator Son and the local universe Mother Spirit. Okay, and then when they've created all the hosts of beings they need to that time, then the Creator Son starts to create by himself the sex creatures. That includes the material sons. Okay. And we fall under that category also. Humans falls under that. Even though the creative Mother Spirit gives us life, the spark of life, it is the Creator Son that creates us. And when the Creator Son starts to create the material sons and daughters, then the local universe Mother Spirit starts to create the host of the whole gamut of seraphic angels. And that includes the seraphim and the Sanabim and cherubim. The cherubim and Sanabim. But the interesting point about this is this. Up to this point, when she starts to create the seraphic host, the angels that are on duty in this local universe are actually loaned to us from another universe. Isn't that interesting? And they think we believe it's Avalon, the closest universe to us. They actually loan us seraphim to work up till the time that the local universe Mother Spirit starts to create the seraphic host, and it's these angels from Avalon who actually start to train the seraphim of our local universe.
Wouldn't also the material sons be the Adam and Eve? Would they fall under that category?
They fall under that category. Now remember though, the material sons, not all of them end up being Adam and Eve's. Okay? Only a percentage of them. Okay, but all the Adam and Eve's comes from these material sons. Alright? And this is a picture. Let me hit the other one here. This is the picture of the sons of God that is created. First, these are the created sons of God that are created by the universe Mother Spirit Michael. And they include the Melchizedeks, the Lenonondecs, the Verondadeks, and the life carriers. All right. All right. And then, what is that?
Am I up next?
No, hang on. We're getting a dog whining from somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sorry guys, that would be me.
Oh, okay. Mute your mic for a couple minutes.
No problem.
All right. So Michael actually creates the material sons and the material daughters, and these are Adam's children in Jerusalem too, and the host of beings. All right. Next comes the local universe Mother Spirit. She creates a battalion of seraphim, 41,472 at a time. And she starts these creations about the same time Michael creates the material sons and daughters. Okay? All right. Now, Tim, I think you're up. The dogs have started. Unmute your mic, though.
Okay. These angelic orders are projected at the time of planning for the evolution of mortal will creatures. The creation of seraphim dates from the attainment of relative personality by the universe Mother Spirit, not as the later coordinate of the Master Son, but as the earlier creative helper of the Creator Son. Previous to this event, the seraphim on duty in Abaddon were temporarily loaned by a neighboring universe,
Which is, we believe, Avalon. Okay? So up to that point where she creates her own, then the seraphim on duty are from another universe. Okay? Now, it's, something else here interesting about this paragraph. It talks about, this starts in the attainment of relative personality when she's actually creating the local universe with the Creator Son. This is not later when she makes a change. Let me see if I can add Rodney here. Let's see. There we go. This is not the period of time when she makes a change when he becomes a master son. You know, she morphs a little bit. Hi, Rodney. Welcome.
Hey guys, thank you.
How you doing, Rodney?
It's late and I'm doing fine, thank you.
Okay, Rodney.
Single.
Yeah, I've got everybody's got their video on tonight. We're going to try it with video since I have more bandwidth.
Oh, no kidding, no kidding.
Yeah, so we'll give it a try, see how it works. You know, if you want to turn your video on. Okay.
I want to ask Tim, my mic is up. You put on headphones, is it because you have a hard time hearing?
No, because today we tried out some stuff. We tried to get rid of that feedback we had last week.
The feedback.
Yeah. You remember how he was getting feedback when he
You
talked?
Roger, you sound like you're in a hollow room.
I am in a hollow room.
With my deficient hearing, I'm having a hard time, so I'm probably going to put my headphones on just so I can hear better.
That's fine
See what
too.
happens.
Yeah, that's fine.
The first time I did this, when I tried to unplug it, that's when we got feedback.
Oh, okay.
The good news about the headphones is that I don't have to hear the dogs.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see who's up. I think you are, Millie.
Okay. Seraphim are still being periodically created. The universe of Nebadon is still in the making. The universe Mother Spirit never ceases creative activity in a growing and perfecting universe.
Okay, so this is the ongoing process, right? Still going on today. Rodney, would you take the next one? We're on 2, angelic natures.
Yep, got it. Number 2, angelic natures. Angels do not have material bodies, but they are definite and supreme. They are of the spirit nature and origin. Though invisible to mortals, they perceive you as you are in the flesh, without the aid of transformers or translators. They intellectually understand the mode of mortal life, and they share all of man's non-sensuous emotions and sentiments. They appreciate and greatly enjoy your efforts in music, art, and real humor. They are fully cognizant of your moral struggles and spiritual difficulties. They love human beings, and only good can result from your efforts to understand and love them.
Okay, this is interesting for a couple reasons. First, they talk about angels do not have material bodies. That's because they're more on a spiritual level, right? Now, the cherubim and the seraphim are a lower order of angel, and they are closer to the midway creatures. So they do have a body closer to the midway type of body, okay? The other interesting part about this is it says they can perceive flesh without the aid of transformers and translators. What do you guys think those are?
What, translators and transformers?
Yeah.
Well, I know that happened with Jesus. Well, go ahead and explain.
Well, what they
midway
do,
creatures?
they allow one type of being to visualize or see another type of being outside their normal vision range for that type of being. So it would be these beings that would allow some higher form of being, like a mighty messenger or something, to perceive humans, because by the time they get up that high, they lose the ability to see clearly lower forms of beings. So these
And vice versa.
pardon me?
And vice versa.
And vice versa. It works both ways. So when we get to the mansion worlds, the higher types of beings that we can't recognize, it's these transformers and translators that will aid us to be able to visualize these beings at certain times. Isn't that kind of neat? I
I
think that's...
think we studied that once before and decided, because each up along the way, you've got a higher frequency.
That's right. You got the higher frequency, and you're able to see more and more the higher you go, too. Right?
So, is there a difference between a translator and a transformer?
I'm sure there are, because one probably translates languages and concepts, and the other, the transformer, actually transforms the body more than likely for you to be able to see them. I know in the mansion worlds at certain times the transformers and translators allows us to see the finalators in short periods, because by the time we become finalators, we're so high above the physical level that we're not easily seen by humans or Morontia beings any longer, right? So it allows us to see a higher form of being. All right. Okay. Though seraphim are very affectionate and sympathetic beings, they are not sex emotion creatures. This is what we were talking about earlier. They are much as you will be on the mansion worlds, where you will neither marry nor be given in marriage, but will be as the angels of heaven. For all who shall be accounted worthy to attain the mansion worlds neither marry nor are given in marriage. Neither do they die anymore. They are equal to the angels. Nevertheless, in dealing with sex creatures, it is our custom to speak of those beings of more direct descent from the Father and the Son as the sons of God, while referring to the children of the infinite of the Spirit as the daughters of God. Angels are therefore commonly designated by feminine pronouns on the sex planets. Okay, now I need to clear something up, because everybody that reads this paragraph think, well, we don't get married. What happens to people that are married on this planet and they go on in the mansion worlds? Do they just lose each other? No, they don't. When you get to the mansion worlds, you have a choice of staying with someone or being with someone or going on with them for any period of time. It mentions one place in the Urantia book, one of the finalators, when he's writing in a paper, says that his mate, when he was on the planet in the flesh, went with him all the way as a finalator. So they do jobs together as finalators. So if you choose to, you can go through eternity with your mate, right? The difference is you will no longer be a sex creature. You will have a male or female bend, but you will no longer have the urge for sex and sensuality. By that time, you'll be more attuned to spiritual things. Okay?
And when they talk about Father and the Son, what are they referring to?
The universal Father and the eternal Son. Okay? And that's why they refer to all those below the Father and the Son and the Creator sons as sons of God, while referring to the children of the infinite Spirit as daughters of God. Okay? All right. It's the descendancy line, what you call the deity line. Okay. All right, Tim, I think you're up next.
The seraphim are so created as to function on both spiritual and literal levels. There are few phases of Morontia or spirit activity which are not open to their ministrations, while in personal status, angels are not so far removed from human beings. In certain functional performances, seraphim far transcend them. They possess many powers far beyond human comprehensions. For an example, you have been told that the very hairs of your head are numbered. And it is true. They are. But a seraphim does not spend her time counting them and keeping the number corrected up to date. Angels possess inherent and automatic, that is, automatic as far as you could perceive, powers of knowing such things. You would truly regard a seraphim as a mathematical prodigy. Therefore, numerous duties, which would be tremendous tasks for mortals, are performed with exceeding ease by seraphim.
Well, my seraphim doesn't have to count as much as I used to, I'll tell you that. So, keeping track of my hairs anyway. Okay, so the seraphim have powers way beyond our human comprehension. That's the whole point of this, right? They have powers to do their job and to help us out more than we could ever imagine, probably.
And when they say the word angels, are they just referring to every one of them? Like,
all groups of angels, including the supernaphim, sekanophim, seraphim, and the cherubim, right?
Archangels.
All the angels, right? And there's other orders too.
I had a question about the archangels.
Yeah.
Do they work in pairs as well?
The archangels, that I am not totally sure about, Rodney. I do not think so. I think they're more of a solo angel because they're such a different class. The archangel, number one, even though they are counted under the armies of heaven, under Gabriel, they do not directly respond to Gabriel. In other words, they're not directly under them because they're self-governing. Archangel's job, unlike many other types of angels, is wholly dedicated to the ascension plan of mortals, which is kind of interesting. So that's one of the reasons having a center on this planet of archangels is very, very important because their whole job surrounds taking care of the ascension plans for mortals themselves. So they fall outside the normal ministering spirits like the seraphim. So from what I understand, they're like the most powerful angel out there, the archangel. I guess because they span over such a wide range of things, where seraphim usually take on just one specific task or group of tasks. You know, keep in mind now, we're going to find out this out a little bit later in this paper, that there's 6 other groups of angels on the level of seraphim that are not related to the ascension plan. So they call them the unrevealed angels, the 6th group of unrevealed angels. So, and they don't tell us about those because they're not directly related to our ascension plan. But apparently they have to do with administration of the planets and all sorts of other activities. So there's many other types of angels besides even including the archangels, right? So, did that answer your question, Ron? Okay. I forget who's up now. I think Millie is.
Okay, here I go. Microphone on. Angels are superior to you in spiritual status, but they are not your judges or accusers. No matter what your faults, the angels, although greater in power and might, bring no accusations against you. Angels do not sit in judgment on mankind, neither should individual mortals prejudge their fellow creatures.
It's interesting how they say that angels don't judge us, therefore, and angels are higher scale than we are, therefore we should not prejudge anyone else, right? Which is, it's kind of interesting. All right, Rodney, would you take the next one?
You do well to know. You should not adore them. Angels are not objects of worship. The great seraphim, Loyalatia,
Loyalatia.
when your seer fell down to worship before the feet of the angel, saying, do it not. I am fellow servant with you and with your races, who are all enjoined to worship God.
So they tell us not to worship them. And many people do try to worship angels. This is interesting because this is a quote from the Bible, and I meant to look this up today and I didn't get to it. So maybe some other time we'll come back to this.
Yeah, back in the early 90s and 2000s, any individual writing a book about angels was guaranteed to sell 1 million copies.
Yeah, there's that much interest in them. And people do want to worship them, unfortunately. All right. In nature and personality endowment, the seraphim are just a trifle ahead of mortal races in the scale of creature existence. Indeed, when you are delivered from the flesh, you will become very much like them. On the mansion world, you will begin to appreciate the seraphim. On the constellation spheres, to enjoy them, while on Salvington they will you will share their places of rest and worship with you. Throughout the whole Morantia and subsequent spirit ascent, your fraternity with the seraphim will be ideal. Your companionship will be superb. So we'll spend much time with the angels. They'll be on much along the scale as we are. Remember that our seraphim can follow us all the way to paradise, right? That's how he earns his way to paradise, too. Tim, would you take the next one, Unrevealed Angels?
I just had a question. Do you think all 4 of us have guardian angels right now with us?
Oh, yeah.
Watching over us?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we do. When you get to the point where you start to seek out the Father and things like the Urantia book, I can pretty much guarantee you're on the 3rd psychic circle. And anyone who has reached the 3rd psychic circle has 2 full-time seraphim assigned to them, plus 2 full-time cherubim, well, a cherubim and a cenobim, that assist those 2 seraphim. So we have literally 4 angels assigned to us. Now, the seraphim are the only ones that are actually assigned to taking care of us as humans. The cherubim and cenobim are assistants to the seraphim. The cherubim and cenobim are not assigned to people. They are assigned to the angels, okay, even though they stay with us.
And Roger, we mentioned this, I don't know, last year or so, that a bit of a misconception about guardian angels, because actually what they're motivated to guard eternal life.
I'm sorry, you broke up there, Rodney. Could you say that again?
Their motive is to guard your eternal life.
That's right.
Not necessarily your physical life.
Not your physical life. That's right. And their job is actually to put obstacles in your path, isn't it, Rodney? So that you can grow spiritually, right?
Yeah.
What kind of obstacles are we talking about, Roger?
Things that will have us make a moral decision. These are the things that the guardian angels put before us so that they reinforce our moral decisions over and over and over again.
Stumbling blocks.
The stumbling blocks, that's right.
So you're supposed to praise God for all of this stuff.
That's right. The good and what we consider bad. Many times the bad things is actually good things in
I'm
disguise.
so glad this happened.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of adversity.
It's a lot of adversity. If you have no adversity, then you're not growing.
I like to say, adversity is God's university.
That's right. We all should be humbled by it, right? All right. Tim, would you take the next one?
Number 3, unrevealed angels. Numerous orders of spirit beings function throughout the domains of the local universe that are unrevealed to mortals because they are in no manner connected with the evolutionary plan of paradise ascension. In this paper, the word angel is purposely limited to the designation of those seraphic and associated offspring of the universe mother spirit, who is so largely concerned with the operation of the plans of mortal survival. There serve in the local universe 6 other orders of related beings, the unrevealed angels, who are not in specific manner connected with those universe activities pertaining to a paradise ascent of evolutionary mortals. These 6 groups of angelic associates are never called seraphim, neither are they referred to as ministering spirits. These personalities are wholly occupied with the administrative and other affairs of Nebadon, engagements which are in no way related to man's progressive career of spiritual ascent and perfection attainment.
So this just reinforces the fact that there's a whole gamut of beings out there not related to the mortal paradise ascent plan that are doing other things for the universe, right? So they don't tell us everything. And that's done on purpose, right? That was a short section. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes, number 4, the seraphic worlds. The 9 groups of 7 primary spheres in the Salvington Circuit are the worlds of the seraphim. Each of these worlds has 6 tributary satellites, whereon are all the special schools devoted to all the phases of seraphic training. While the seraphim have access to all 49 worlds comprising this group of Salvington spheres, they exclusively occupy only the first cluster of 7. The remaining 6 clusters are occupied by the 6 orders of angels associated, unrevealed on Urantia, and angelic associates unrevealed on Urantia. Each such group maintains headquarters on one of these 6 primary worlds and carries on specialized activities on the 6 tributary satellites. Each angelic order has a free access to all the worlds of these 7 diverse groups.
So there's the first 7 of them. This is a picture of the worlds. And the first 7 of them is where the seraphim actually occupy. And the other orders, the other 6 orders that they don't tell us about, are on the remaining of the 49. Okay? So, they don't tell us a whole lot about this. Alright. Rodney, would you take this?
These headquarters worlds are among the magnificent realms of Lebanon. The seraphic estates are characterized by both beauty and vastness. Here each seraphim has a real home, and home means the domicile of 2 seraphim. They live in pairs.
Isn't it interesting how they even live in pairs on these worlds? I think that's confusing. Okay. Though not male and female, as are the material sons and the mortal races, seraphim are negative and positive. In the majority of assignments, it requires 2 angels to accomplish the task. When they are not encircuited, they can work alone. Neither do they require complements when stationary. Ordinarily, they retain their original complements of being, but not necessarily. Such associations are primarily necessitated by function. They are not characterized by sex emotion, though they are exceedingly personal and truly affectionate. Okay, so most of the time, their complement of being, their mate, if you would, always stays with them. But that's not always the case. That's what they're saying here. All right? But most of them have to have both of them to function when they're in motion, doing anything, pretty much. Okay?
And what were you saying, Roger, about seraphim are negative and positive?
They're
That just means
negative.
they're pairs?
Pardon me?
That just means that they're pairs?
They're pairs. That's right. That just means they're pairs. They're spiritually drawn to each other. In other words, they function as one unit. So it's sort of like we do as a marriage. You know, when people get married, hopefully people will function as one unit, as a couple. And that's much how the seraphim work. They function as a couple. Although they can work individually, but they do most of their work as a couple, always. So one's what's called a positive, the other's called a negative, and the negative is usually called the complement of being. In other words, that second one, the negative charged one, is the complement for the positive charge. So everything that the positive one does is complemented by the negatively charged being there all the time. Okay? Does that make sense? So
Yes.
they're like a couple. Alright? Non-sexual couple. Okay. Millie, I think you're up.
I think it's Tim.
Oh, it's Tim. Did I skip over Tim? Sorry, Tim. You're up.
Besides designated homes, Seraphim also have group company battalion and unit headquarters. They foregather for unions every millennium, and they're all present in accordance with the time of their creation. If a Seraphim bears responsibilities which forbid absent from duty, she alternates attendance with her complement, being relieved by a Seraphim of another birth date. Each Seraphim partner is thereby presented at least every other reunion.
Okay, so we know a millennium is 1,000 years, right? Universe time. So every 1,000 years, on their birth date, they have like a reunion. And if one of them has a job in which he can't leave, then they will alternate every other 1,000 years. So each of them gets to go at least every 2,000 years to the reunion.
Could you imagine? I've not seen you for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
You've changed.
The thing of it is, though, you know, when you live through eternity, I guess 2,000 years isn't that long, is
Yeah, how many of these have we had?
really. How about Fred? Wasn't he supposed to go? Yeah, I seen him a couple 1,000 years ago. So he should be here.
He's late by about 30 years.
That's right. Billy, you want to take the next one?
Did you say me?
Yes, I did, dear.
Seraphic training. Seraphim spend the first millennium as non-commissioned observers on Salvington and its associated world schools. The second millennium is spent on the seraphic worlds of the Salvington Circuit. Their central training school is now presided over by the first 100,000 Nebadon Seraphim, and at their head is the original or firstborn angel of this local universe. The first created group of Nebadon Seraphim were trained by a corps of 1,000 Seraphim from Avalon. Subsequently, our angels have been taught by their own seniors. The Melchizedeks also have a large part in the education and training of all local universe angels, Seraphim, Cherubim, and Seraphim.
Okay, so y'all think about this. The first millennium, 1,000 years, they spend on the seraphic worlds of the Salvington Circle, right? And then they spend another 1,000 years hanging around again. And the interesting part is all Seraphim, Cherubim, and Seraphim are sent out to planets, the most basic beginning time planets, to start their training. Okay? So for 3,000 years, they start at the very, very bottom of the stack. So they get lots of
And they
training.
show up with a bunch of cavemen.
What was that, Rodney?
And then they show up on a world with cavemen.
Yeah, basically.
Oh my gosh, what is it?
Yep, they get lots of training, got lots of opportunity to observe barbaric people as they start, don't they? All right. Rodney, would you take the next one?
Okay, at the termination of this period of training on the seraphic world of Salvington, Seraphim mobilized into conventional groups and units of the angelic organization and feedback.
I'm getting feedback from you, Millie. Try it again. Rodney?
Feedback.
I'm getting feedback from you, Millie, for some reason. Did you?
It's hard to read. There we go.
There we go. You got it.
I'm just going to start over here.
Okay.
At the termination of this period of training on the seraphic worlds of Salvington, Seraphim are mobilized in the conventional groups and units of the angelic organization and are assigned to some one of the constellations. They are not yet commissioned as ministering spirits, although they have well entered upon the pre-commissioned phases of angelic training.
So they're not even considered ministering spirits yet, are they? All right. This is the interesting part. Seraphim are initiated as ministering spirits by serving as observers on the lowest of the evolutionary worlds. After this experience, they return through the associate worlds of the headquarters of the assigned constellation to begin their advanced studies, and more definitely to prepare for service in some particular local system. Following this general education, they are advanced on to the service of some one of the local systems. On the architectural worlds associated with the capital of some Nebadon system or Seraphim complete their training and those commissioned as ministering spirits of time. So they have to go to a lower planet to observe. Did you see that? So they don't go right from, after 3,000 years of working, they don't go right into being ministering spirits. They have to earn that even more. Okay, Tim.
When once seraphim are commissioned, they may range all Nebadon, even Orvonton, on assignment. Their work in the universe is without bonds and limitations. They are bounds and limitations. They are closely associated with the material creatures of the worlds and are ever in the service of the lower orders of spiritual personalities, making contact between these beings of the spirit world and the mortals of the material realms.
Okay, so at that point they could be assigned to almost anywhere, can't they? All right. All right, Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. Seraphic organization. After the second millennium of sojourn at Seraphic headquarters, the Seraphim are organized under chiefs into groups of 12. 12 pairs, 24 Seraphim. And 12 such groups constitute a company, 144 pairs, or 288 Seraphim, which is commanded by a leader. 12 companies under a commander constitute a battalion, 1,728 pairs, or 3,456 Seraphim. And 12 battalions under director equal a Seraphic unit, 20,736 pairs, or 41,472 individuals, while 12 units subject to the command of a superior constitute a legion, numbering 248,832 pairs, or 497,664 individuals. Jesus alluded to such a group of angels that night in the Garden of Gethsemane when he said, I can even now ask my Father, and he will presently give me more than 12 legions of angels.
It's a lot of angels. Now hang on, we're going to go on to the next paragraph in a second here and explain how many this is. And this is a slide of the breakdown, okay? And remember, Gabriel is the supreme commander of these angels. Okay, let's go on. Rodney.
12 legions of angels comprise a host numbering 2,985,984 pairs, or 5,971,960 individuals. And from such hosts, 35,831,808 pairs, or 71,663,616 individuals, making up the largest operating organization of Seraphim. Holy cow. An angelic army. A seraphic host is commanded by an archangel or by personality of coordinate status, while the angelic armies are directed by the brilliant evening stars, or by other immediate lieutenants of Gabriel. And Gabriel is the supreme commander of the armies of heaven, the chief executive of the sovereign of Lebanon, the Lord God of hosts.
Okay, so what couple interesting things here. First, Jesus could have commanded over what they say 71 million individual angels at any time while he was on earth. He could have brought them forth.
Legions is,
Yeah, or 35 million pairs. But the other interesting thing here too is it mentioned that a seraphic host is commanded by an archangel or some other personality of coordinate status. So you can see how the archangels are on the highest order of angelic ministry. You see that? So being an archangel is pretty darn important, you know.
Yeah.
These are the guys that coordinate the large host of seraphim. Okay?
Oh, very.
Yeah, very, very important. And having an archangel relay station on the planet is even more impressive, right? So, let's keep moving here. Though serving under the direct supervision of the Infinite Spirit as personalized on Salvington, since the bestowal of Michael on Urantia, seraphim and all other local universe orders have become subject to the sovereignty of the Master Son. Even when Michael was born of the flesh on Urantia, there issued the super universe broadcast to all Nebadon, which proclaimed, and let all the angels worship him. All ranks of angels are subject to his sovereignty. They are a part of that group which has been denominated his mighty angels. Right? So he is the God of hosts for these angels. Right? And this is a picture of the Caligassids. Jerusalem volunteered when they were brought to Dalmatia by seraphic transport. Okay. Let's keep going. Cherubim and Sandalbim. Tim, would you take this one?
In all essential endowments, cherubim and seraphim are similar to the seraphim. They have the same origin, but not always the same destiny. They are wonderfully intelligent, marvelously efficient, touchingly affectionate, and almost human. They are the lowest order of angels, hence, all of their near of kin to the more progressive types of human beings on the evolutionary worlds.
Alright, so the cherubim and seraphim are closer akin to us and the midwayers. Alright? Alright. Millie.
Yes. Cherubim and seraphim are inherently associated, functionally united. One is an energy positive personality, the other an energy negative. The right hand deflector or positively charged angel is the cherubim, the senior or controlling personality. The left hand deflector or negatively charged angel is the seraphim, the complement of being. Each type of angel is very limited in solitary function, hence they usually serve in pairs. When serving independently of their seraphic directors, they are more than ever dependent on mutual contact and always function together.
Alright, so they're always dependent on one another, right? And this is a picture of cherubim, and we're going to talk about these in a minute, but this is also a picture of the Morancha cherubim, which is a little bit different type of cherubim. Every fourth one is a Morancha cherubim. And we're going to find this out during the slide coming up. But it says here, every fourth Every fourth Sanabim is quasi-material, or a Morontia Sanabim. And these work in the mansion worlds. Okay? These Sanabim. Okay. Alright. Rodney, would you take this one?
Cherubim and Cherubim are the faithful and efficient aids of the seraphic ministers, and all 7 orders of seraphim are provided with these subordinate assistants. Cherubim and Cherubim serve for ages in these capacities, but they do not accompany seraphim. Their assignments beyond the confines of the universe.
Notice here that it mentions all 7 orders of seraphim are provided with these subordinate assistants. So even the unrevealed orders of seraphim are provided with cherubim and Sanabim in the local universe. Okay? So not all of them work with humans. Alright? The cherubim and Sanabim are the routine spirit workers on the individual worlds of the system. On a non-personal assignment and in an emergency, they may serve in the place of a seraphic pair, but they never function even temporarily as attending angels to human beings. That is an exclusive seraphic privilege. So, if there's no seraphim attached to a human being, a cherubim and a Sanabim will not be attached to them. Do you see that? It's only when we have a seraphim attached to us that the cherubim and cherubim have anything to do with us. All right, Tim, would you take the next one?
When assigned to a planet, cherubim enter the local courses of training, including a study of planetary Earth usages and languages. The ministering spirits of time are all bilingual, speaking the language of the local universe of their origin and that of their native super universe. By study in the schools of the realms, they acquire additional tongues. Cherubim and Sanabim, like seraphim, and all other orders of spirit beings, are continuously engaged in effort at self-improvement. Only such as the subordinate beings of power, control, and energy direction are incapable of progression. All creatures having actual or potential personality volition seek new achievements.
So everyone that's trying to attain the Father, or anyone that's progressing, always tries to seek new achievements along the way. Okay? The only types of beings that do not do that are the power control and the energy direction beings. All other beings try to improve themselves. Okay? Millie.
Got it. Cherubim and Sanabim are by nature very near the Morontia level of existence, and they prove to be most efficient in the borderland work of the physical, morontial, and spiritual domains. These children of the local universe mother's spirit are characterized by 4th creatures, much as are the Habona servitals and the conciliating commissions. Every 4th cherubim and every 4th Sanabim are quasi-material. They very definitely resembling the Morontia level of existence.
So every 4th Sanabim and every 4th cherubim comes out on the quasi-material level, or more along the line of the Morontia level. And that makes them more useful for those areas, right?
What do they mean by spiritual domains? Morontia planets?
Yeah, Morontia planets, that's right. That's where we start our Morontia career, and our goal is to become spiritual beings. And we do that by the time we get to Salvington. When we leave Salvington, we become first stage spirits. Okay?
And when they say the word Morontia, it means spiritual and material. But what does the word spiritual actually mean? Does it mean like it's kind of like like God?
Closer to, being more like God, but a lot less physical. There's 590 different levels of Morancha existence, and we pass through all 590 on the way to the spiritual domain. So it's a constant progressive uplifting as we go. So we become less physical, more spiritual as we go. All right. I think Rodney, you're up.
Okay, these angelic fourth creatures are of great assistance to the seraphim in the more literal phases of their universe and planetary activities. Such Morancha cherubim also perform many indispensable borderline tasks on the Morancha training worlds and are assigned to the service of the Morancha companions in large numbers. They are to the Morancha spheres about what the midway creatures are to the evolutionary planets. On the inhabited worlds, these Morancha cherubim frequently work in liaison with the midway creatures. Cherubim and midway creatures are distinctly separate orders of beings. They have dissimilar origins, but they disclose great similarity in nature and function.
So they're a lot like the midway creatures, but their creation and evolution is different, right? Okay, and this is a picture of some Morancha Sanobim on the mansion worlds, right? And then they're going to talk about in just a minute the primary midwares and the secondary midwares, right? And what they are and the difference. Okay. Evolution of cherubim and Sanobim. Small. Wait, I think I'll turn around and read this. Numerous avenues of advancing service are open to the cherubim and Sanobim, leading to an enhancement of status, which may still be further augmented by the embrace of the divine minister. There are three great classes of cherubim and Sanobim with regard to evolutionary potential. 1. Ascension candidates. These beings are by nature candidates for seraphic status. Cherubim and Sanobim of this order are brilliant, though not by inherent endowment equal to the seraphim, but by application and experience it is possible for them to attain full seraphic standing, so they can become full-fledged seraphim. Mid-phase cherubim. All cherubim and Sanobim are not equal in ascension potential, and these are the inherently limited beings of the angelic creations. Most of them will remain cherubim and Sanobim, although the more gifted individuals may achieve limited seraphic service. And 3 Morancha cherubim. These fourth creatures of the angelic orders always retain their quasi-material characteristics. They will continue on as cherubim and Sanobim, together with the majority of their mid-phase brethren, pending the complete factualization of the Supreme Being. So, as they are created, they're created on 3 different levels. The ascension candidate, who can become seraphim. The mid-phase cherubim, which most of them stay mid-phase cherubim, but they can also eventually become do seraphic service. And then we have the Morancha cherubim, who always stay cherubim and Sanobim. These are the permanent citizens of the cherubim and Sanobim of the local universe, of those orders. Okay, and this is a picture of the 3 orders. Okay, Tim, would you take the next one?
While the second and third groups are somewhat limited in growth potential, the ascension candidates may attain the heights of universal seraphic service. Many of the more experienced of these cherubim are attached to the seraphic guardians of destiny and are thus placed in direct line for advancement to the status of mansion world teachers were deserted by their seraphic seniors. Guardians of Destiny do not have cherubim and seraphim as helpers when their mortal wards attain the emergent life, and when other types of evolutionary seraphim are granted clearance for Seraphington and Paradise. They must forsake their former subordinates when they pass out of the confines of Nebadon. Such deserted cherubim and seraphim are usually embraced by the Universe Mother Spirit, thus achieving a level of equivalent to that of a mansion world teacher in the attainment of seraphic status.
So when we die and go on to the mansion worlds, our seraphim goes along with us, right? But the cherubim and the seraphim does not. Okay, so they have experience as being attached to someone who's been a seraphic guardian. So this gives them the opportunity to be embraced by the local universe Mother Spirit and become mansion world teachers. Okay, so that's one of the possibilities for them. Okay, and this is a picture of the cherubim and manabim and being deserted by their seraphim, and then they have the opportunity to become mansion world teachers. But that's not all, though. Okay, Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. When, as mansion world teachers, the once embraced cherubim and seraphim have long served on the Morontia spheres from the lowest to the highest, and when their core on Savington is over-recruited, the bright and morning star summons these faithful servants of the creatures of time to appear in his presence. The oath of personality transformation is administered, and thereupon, in group of 7,000, these advanced and senior cherubim and seraphim are re-embraced by the Universe Mother Spirit. From this second embrace, they emerge as full-fledged seraphim. Henceforth, the full and complete career of seraphim, with all of its paradise possibilities, is open to such reborn cherubim and seraphim. Such angels may be assigned as guardians of destiny to some mortal being, and if the mortal ward attains survival, then do they become eligible for advancement to the Seraphington and the 7 circles of the seraphic attainment, even to paradise and the core of finality.
So even a lowly cherubim and
There we
seraphim
go.
can go all the way to paradise and become part of the core of finality. You see that? That's the possibilities. There's always possibilities, right? And
Yes, it seems to me it's possible for all beings.
yes, you have to
One way
choose.
or another.
Yeah, that's right. You have to choose to want to do it, right, Millie?
That's right.
Make the decision. All
Do you know
right.
what the embrace would be? Kind of like a group hug when they say,
That I can't tell you, but they get one embrace by the local universe Mother Spirit when they become mansion world teachers, and then they become re-embraced and take an oath of personality from Gabriel, and they become seraphim. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? All right, Rodney, would you take the next one?
Okay. Number 9. Wait away, creatures. And I've got a note to see page 415. Midway creatures have a threefold classification. They are properly classified with the ascending sons of God. They are factually grouped with orders of permanent citizenship, while they are functionally reckoned with the ministering spirits of time because of their intimate and effective association with the angelic host in the work of serving mortal man on the individual worlds of space.
So they're ministering spirits, and they're considered ascending sons of God because they have the possibility of ascending on the paradise eventually, right? After their long career on a planet. Okay? These unique creatures appear on the majority of the inhabited worlds and are always found on the decimal or life experiment planets such as Urantia. Midwares are of two types, primary and secondary, and they appear by the following techniques. 1. Primary midwares. The more spiritual group are the somewhat standardized order of beings who are uniformly derived from the modified ascendant mortal staff of the planetary princes. The number of primary midway creatures is always 50,000, and no planet serving enjoying the ministry has a larger group. Now remember, over 40,000 of ours went into default, right? So we only have around 10,000 left of the primary midwares. Okay, secondary midwares. The more material group of these creatures vary greatly in numbers on the different worlds. Though the average is around 50,000, they are variously derived from the planetary biological uplifters, the Adams and Eves, or from their immediate progeny. There are no less than 24 diverse techniques involved in the production of these secondary midway creatures on the evolutionary worlds of space, and the mode of their origin for this group on Urantia was very unusual and extraordinary. Okay, there's a lot in this slide. First, primary midwares are the more spiritual of the group, so they're higher on the scale, right? Secondary midwares are the more physical, the more material of the midway creatures. So they're closer to us. They are more physical than they are spiritual. Okay, and we're going to find out the primary midwares are not serviced by the 7 adjutant mind spirits, and the secondary midwares can only relate to the 6th and 7th, worship and wisdom. Okay, that's because they're closer to being human than the primaries are. Now remember, the secondary midwares, we have a smaller number. Some of those defaulted too. And I think there was only around a little over 2,000 of the secondary midwares because of the default of Adam and Eve. Not that many of them were produced before the default, right? So, the secondary and primary midwares got together and joined forces as a single group, and they are called the United Midwares of Urantia. And they are the beings that brought this paper to us, right? Alright, so that's very important. Okay. Tim.
Neither of these groups is an evolutionary accident. Both are essential features in the predetermined plans of the universe architects, and their appearance on the evolving worlds at the opportune juncture is in accordance with the original designs and developmental plans of the supervising light carriers.
Okay, so on almost all planets, they plan for the primary midwares to show up when they bring the 100 from Jerusalem, right? With the planetary prince. This is what normally happens. And that's when the first 50,000 primary midwares show up. The secondary midwares normally show up with the arrival and the reproduction of Adam and Eve on each planet. When Adam and Eve comes in, that's several millenniums later, right? So the primaries are always first and secondaries are always much later. Okay? With Billy.
Got it, yes. Primary midwares are energized intellectually and spiritually by the angelic technique and are uniform in intellectual status. The 7 adjutant mind spirits make no contact with them, and only the 6th and 7th, the spirit of worship and the spirit of wisdom, are able to minister to the secondary group.
Might have done them some good, wouldn't it? Maybe not so many of them would have gone into default if they'd had those 7 adjutants, huh? So, it's hard to say. All right. Rodney.
Secondary midwares are physically energized by the Adamic technique. spiritually encircuited by the seraphic and intellectually endowed with the Mirage transition type of mind. They are divided into 4 physical types, 7 orders spiritually, and 12 levels of intellectual response to the joint ministry of the last 2 adjutant spirits and the Mirage mind. These diversities determine their differential of activity and a planetary assignment.
Okay, so some of them are more spiritual and some of them are more physical, right? And they all have different types of minds. They're more along the spirit and Morontia type of mind, not the human type of mind. But the secondary midwayers are more responsive to worship and wisdom, the last 2 of the 7 adjutant mind spirits, right? So, because of these differences of the different types and their different levels of physical contact, they are assigned different types of job. Now, the problem with Urantia is this: we got very few secondary midwayers. So the secondary midwayers we did get are spread really, really thin. And that's where the cherubim and the sanabim come in to help them out, do some of the activities that normally the secondary midwayers would take up. Okay?
What did we read? There were like 10,000?
There was, we got 10,000 primary and I think around over 2,000 secondary.
I mean, that's what we were left with.
That's what we were left with. But originally, there were 50,000 primary, and I don't remember exactly how many secondary, to be honest. We'd have to look that up.
What exactly does the academic technique and spiritually encircled mean?
Okay, there's 2 types of techniques. The first one was when Kalagassa came to the planet, and the Kalagassa 100 came, and these beings were from Jerusalem. So they had the spiritual circuit from Jerusalem running through them. So when those primary midwayers were created, they were more along a spiritual level. But the Adamic technique, which is later on when Adam and Eve comes down, they were encircuited also in a different form. So when they started creating their offspring, started creating the secondary midwayer, it was a different attunement. It was more along the line of a physical attunement. And that's why we have the primary midwayers are more spiritual and the secondary midwayers are more physical. Okay? So when the Adam and Eves come, it's there to bring the secondary midwayers from their children, their offspring. And that's part of the Adamic uplifting of the planet. Okay? So that's why there's a big difference there.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
All right. Okay. I think this is the next paragraph. Primary midwayers resemble angels more than mortals. The secondary orders are much more like human beings. Each renders invaluable assistance to the other in execution of their manifold planetary assignments. Primary ministers can achieve liaison cooperation with both Morontia and spirit energy controllers and mind circuiters. That's the difference. Okay? The secondary group can establish working connections only with the physical controllers and the material circuit manipulators. But since each order of the midwayer can establish perfect synchrony of contact with the other, either group is thereby able to achieve practical utilization of the entire energy gamut, extending from the gross physical power of the material worlds up through the transitional phases of universe energies to the higher spiritual reality forces of the celestial realms. Now, what does this mean? This means that because of the connection of the primary midwayers with the more spiritual and spirit energy circuits and controllers and mind circuits, and the secondary midwayers connection between the physical master physical controllers and the material circuit manipulators. Both the spiritual and the physical end of our planet is covered by both the primary and secondary midwares working together. So there is no realm of reality that the primary and secondary midwares cannot manipulate in one form or another. Does that make sense?
What does the word circuit mean?
Well, these are the circuits we've studied several times before. You know, there's 7 circuits of the local universe, okay, and then there's 4 circuits of the master universe, and I'm sure we'll go over those again because I don't want to spend a lot of time on them tonight. But
yeah, you can read about that in paper 15, section 9.
That's right. That's right. That's the circuit. That's the circuits they're talking about, and there's spiritual circuits, mindal circuits. Physical circuits, which is the Isle of Paradise, and then there's the separate circles of the circuits of the local universe itself, right? So
right.
You can look those up on your leisure. That's the circuits they're talking about. All right. All right. Let's see, Tim, would you take the next one?
The gap between the material and spiritual worlds is perfectly bridged by the serial association of mortal man. Secondary midware, primary midware, Urantia cherubim, mid-phase cherubim, and seraphim. In the personal experience of an individual mortal, these diverse levels are undoubtedly more or less unified and made personally meaningful by the
Unobserved
and mysterious operations of the divine thought adjusters.
So we have all these external influences, and we also have the operations of the thought adjuster, the father fragment, right? Well, we got a lot of things working for us, don't we? All right. Millie, would you take the next one?
On normal worlds, the primary midwayers maintain their service as the intelligence corps and as celestial entertainers in behalf of the planetary prince, while the secondary ministers continue their cooperation with the Adamic regime of furthering the cause of progressive planetary civilization. In case of the defection of a planetary prince and the failure of the material sun, as occurred on Urantia, the midway creatures become the wards of the system sovereign and serve under the directing guidance of the acting custodian of the planet. But on only 3 other worlds in Satania do these beings function as one group under unified leadership, as do the United Midway Ministers of Urantia.
Okay, so these beings are under the purview of whom now? Machiavintial Melchizedek, right? Because he's our acting vicegerent ruler of our planet, right? But normally they would be under the Adamic regime, because normally on a normal planet the Adamic regime would still be functioning, right? But since we no longer have the Adamic regime on this planet, then it's under Machiavintial Melchizedek, or the acting planetary prince at that time. So. All right, Rodney.
The planetary work of both primary and secondary midwayers is varied and diverse among the numerous individual worlds of a universe. But on the normal and average planets, their activities are very different from their duties, which occupy their time on isolated spheres such as Urantia.
So if they were anywhere else, they would be acting totally differently, wouldn't they? Okay. The primary midwayers are the planetary historians who, from the time of the arrival of the planetary prince to the age of settled light and life, formulate the pageants and design the portrayals of planetary history for the exhibits of the planets on the system headquarters worlds. All right. Tim, would you take the next one?
Midwayers remain for long periods on an inhabited world, but if faithful to to their trust, they will eventually and most certainly be recognized for their age-long service in maintaining the sovereignty of the Creator's Son. They will be duly rewarded for their patient ministry to the material mortals from their world of time and space. Sooner or later, all accredited midway creatures will be mustered into the ranks of the ascending sons of God and will be duly initiated into the long adventure of the Paradise Ascent in a company with those very mortals of animal origin, their earth brethren, whom they so jealously guarded and so effectively served during the long planetary sojourn, presented by Melchizedek, acting by request of the chief of the seraphic host of Nebadon.
Okay, so think about this. We become ascending sons of God. We start our career, ascending career, as soon as we hit the mansion world, as soon as we die. And these midway creatures have to wait until the planet is settled in light and life, until they're released normally. Okay? That's a long time, but they go on the same pathway that we do as ascendant sons of God. Isn't that amazing? After that, that's right. So you have to give them credit. I don't care what anybody says. It's a wonderful thing, you know. It really is. Let's say a little prayer, and we'll sign off for tonight. Now next week, before I mention this, say this prayer. Next week we have the paper on Seraphim. And this is a very, very long paper, so I doubt that we will get through the paper next week. We may want to divide it in half, go through half of it, and take the other half the following week. So I'll let y'all know, because it is a very, very long paper. There's a lot to cover on it. Okay, Tim, would you like to say a prayer first and close us out tonight?
I was kind of unprepared for that.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. Maybe someone else would like to. Millie, would you like to pray tonight? She's got her mic off too.
Yes, I just have to turn my microphone on.
Okay.
I do not have a mouthful of rice crackers
Rice
or
crackers today?
popcorn.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together to again study this new revelation. Please bring us understanding and knowledge through these words that may help us to become better citizens of your world. We pray this in the name of Jesus the Christ, Michael of Nebadon. Amen.
Amen. Okay, let me stop the recording here. Thank you for joining us, folks. Please come see us again.